Harvey's Hot Takes with the host of Overdrive on TSN Radio. It's Bryan Hayes, who joins us every week with his hot takes. Leafs get the win on Monday night over Tampa to improve to 4-2 on the season. All without Joseph Woll, who remains injured. Anthony Stolarz is the guy. How much of this early success for Toronto, Bryan, in your eyes, how much of that credit should be given to Anthony Stolarz?
I think a lot of it, Jay. I really, really credit him for seizing an opportunity. Very rarely in pro sports do you get a scenario like this early into the year, where the door is wide open for him to, I think, hold on to that number one label and possibly hold on to it for a long, long time. And he's never had that opportunity in his career. He's been in the NHL for quite some time. He's into his 30s. It's not like this is a rookie or a guy who's been in the American Hockey League forever. He has been kicking around the NHL. He obviously won a cup ring last year in Florida, and I'm sure he came up here with the anticipation that Joseph Woll would have a one-up on him, have an opportunity ahead of him because of his youth, because Joseph Woll came up through the system, drafted and developed, and because they signed him to an extension before the season even began. And Woll goes down, and Stolarz says, thank you, I'll take that opportunity. And I don't know if this is a Wally, Pip, Lou Gehrig scenario necessarily, but he's been great. He hasn't given up more than 2 goals in any of his games, including opening night in Montreal. He only gave up 1. I thought he was great. They lost that game. He only gave up 2 against the Rangers on Saturday night. They lost that game, but he's got a .937 save percentage. He's a monster in net, and this is what this fan base has been waiting for a long, long time. Give this fan base some stability. Give them some faith, someone that they can have confidence in, and they'll rally around them. And you heard them down at Scotiabank tonight. They were rallying around Anthony Stolarz, and it's early. You don't want to jump to conclusions. Obviously, he's going to come back to earth at some point. He's going to give up 3 or more goals. He's going to get shelled. He's going to get pulled, and then we'll see how he reacts to that. It sounds like Joseph Woll is going to return right around the corner, and he'll certainly be pushing for more playing time. But I think Stolarz has been huge, and it's the most important position in the sport, especially early in the year, to really set the tone. He's been great for the Leafs, and when Woll went down, I was on your show, Jay, and I said, I imagine Craig Berube going right up to him and saying, you want an opportunity to be a number 1 in this league? Show me. You can take it. And that's exactly what he's done. He has been outstanding for the Leafs, and he was great again tonight.
Let's go to the NFL, Bryan. The Monday Nighter looked so good for the New York Football Jets for just a moment. They started great, and then they lost by 22 to Pittsburgh, and now they're 2-5. Is their season over, I should say, is their season over, the New York Jets? And if it is, Bryan, who is to blame?
Yes, it's over. It was over before it started. I never had any belief in this New York Jets team because of who they are. They're the New York Jets, Jay. This is the organization that we're relying on, that they're going to somehow just snap out of this stupor they've been in basically my whole life and start competing with the Bills and other, elite teams in the AFC. I never had faith in this. I wasn't a big Robert Saleh guy, but he's definitely better than the current coach who he was replaced by. And to answer your question, who is at blame? Last week I was on this show talking about the 3 pillars of success in the NFL. You need ownership, you need head coaching, and you need quarterback play. Right now, they don't have any of them. But I will start with the guy at the top. Woody Johnson, the owner of this team, is a mess. Look how he treated the Robert Saleh scenario. Saleh comes back from London, albeit it wasn't a great game. Obviously, they lost that game to a very good team in Minnesota. And he fires him on the Monday, and there are reports that maybe this was based on him being an ambassador and living in London, and maybe he was embarrassed based on the way that game played out. I'm not sure if it's true, but because of who he is, there's reasons to believe it could be. And that's what we're talking about here with the New York Jets. It always starts at the top in pro sports. And I don't think they have stable ownership. Now they have instability when it comes to the coach because they have a new coach who has no head coaching experience. And then the third pillar is the quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers has got to take some of the blame. Again, Woody Johnson starts with it because he basically handed the keys to Rodgers. But Rodgers is calling all the shots. He, during the offseason, he's calling all the shots. He's missing mandatory camps. He's showing up and he's demanding that his players, his former teammates from Green Bay, are in New York, to the point where they trade for Davante Adams, a wide receiver over the age of 30, and they give up a valuable draft pick for him, and he's got all this guaranteed money in the future, and there's no guarantee what Rodgers is going to be in the future, or if he's even going to be here in the future. So they've handed the keys to Aaron Rodgers, and he simply is not capable of carrying a franchise anymore, based on what I've seen out of him. And I'm not that shocked, Jay, and I don't think anybody else should be. His last year in Green Bay, it did not end well. Final 7 or 8 weeks was ugly. He had a chance under the lights at Lambeau against Detroit to punch a ticket to the playoffs. He couldn't get it done. Go back and watch the tape. The second half against Detroit, it was ugly for Rodgers. Then he blows his Achilles out, and now he's 40 years old, coming off a gruesome injury in a city he doesn't know, a franchise he doesn't know. It's completely unfamiliar. And on top of it, that franchise, as I said off the top, is the New York Jets. It was a recipe for disaster right from the start, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So, yeah, I think their season's over. I never thought it was going to get started. I never thought this would work. And I'm more curious to see how ugly it can get moving forward, because I have no doubt there will be more chapters written when it comes to the circus that is the 2024 New York Jets.
We love talking NFL and NHL with you, Bryan. We also love talking NFL and NHL with our sports betting expert, Todd Fuhrman. Todd Fuhrman's segment is a segment that your co-host, Jeff O'Neill, seemed sort of familiar with on Friday's edition of Overdrive.
Jay's segment with the NFL, like the Dallas Cowboys are already on the list.
Is that on that, Jay that comes up with that, or is it Luke that is throwing that out?
Jay has a guy on his show. It's called Jeff Spetz.
Okay.
And he's a handicapper.
And get
I
them to the promised land.
Boys. I misspoke. The segment is called Todd's Odds.
Todd's odds. Okay.
There
Not
you go.
Jeff Spetz.
Okay. Todd's odds.
That's what your segment is, Jeff Spetz.
Okay, before we get into the weeds here, the confidence that Jeff O'Neill had in declaring that the segment was originally called Jeff's Bets, he was very confident that was the name of the segment. Do you think he was just trying to put it into the universe that that's what the segment should be called, and that he, in fact, should have been starring in the segment, Jeff O'Neill himself?
I think there's potential for that, although then that means he'd have to work more and come on with you weekly, Jay. So that probably is what spun that out of control, where he's like, wait a minute, I should get this thing nailed down. I should find out exactly what this is. But he can fake it to make it better than anybody. He's the best. He throws it out there. We take it. As you can hear and as you can see in that clip, Noodles and I, we weren't much help. That's on me. I probably should have known that. Todd Fuhrman, I love seeing his clips. I had no idea what he was talking about, partially because he was saying Jeff's Bets. I'm like, I don't know where this is going. I don't know why I thought Luke Wilson would possibly be involved in something called Jeff's Bets when the host is Jay and he's Luke. So again, I'm not sure where any of this was going, and it speaks to basically what our show is all about. We get the ball rolling. We have no idea what's coming. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But I want to credit you and Jeff's Bets or Todd's Odds, because we are blatantly stealing that from you guys, and we're going to roll it into our own show.
I love it.
And I'm going to find a way to get Jeff O'Neill to supply some bets, and we'll see what comes of it. Maybe you guys can play it in the future.
I'll tell you what's going to come of it. Terrific radio and podcasts. That's exactly what's going to come of it. But you seem somewhat surprised that Todd Fuhrman, our sports betting expert, had already eliminated the Cowboys from Super Bowl contention. In fact, Bryan, he did that last July. Do you still have the Cowboys in the mix to win the Super Bowl?
I have them in the mix. I mean, listen, ultimately there's going to be one team at the end, Jay, and obviously I have Kansas City ahead of them, certainly Baltimore ahead of them. I have Detroit, I have Green Bay. I have at least 5 or 6 teams ahead of them. But is it inconceivable they can win? Like, are we talking about their history? Are we talking about their owner, Jerry Jones? Is it the Mike McCarthy issue? Obviously, he has won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. I was a little bit taken aback by that. Again, not the Niners, not the Lions, not the Chiefs, not the Ravens, but also not Jacksonville, not Carolina, right? Like they're somewhere towards the upper middle. And upper middle early in the season in October, I would still have them as a possibility to win the Super Bowl. So I give credit to Todd, man. He's got more stones than I do, I guess, when it comes to hot takes. And here I am trying to bring as many hot takes as I can to the table with you every single week.
But it's more, I should clarify, for Todd, it's more he would not bet on the Cowboys. Would you bet on the Cowboys?
Okay, well then, I would not bet on the Cowboys.
Okay.
So I totally agree with Todd then.
Yeah.
I guess I just danced around that because I was a little bit confused. I'm playing the role of Jeff O'Neill here. Maybe in Jeff's bets, I would bet on the Dallas Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. But in Todd's odds, if he's saying you actually have to put your own money down, I'm with him on that. I don't know if I would have done that in July, but I'm definitely doing that in October, 100%.
If this is a segment on Jeff's bets on Overdrive on TSN Radio, Jeff O'Neill would probably be laying money on the Panthers because that's just something that Jeff O'Neill would do. Hey, just like Harvey's been serving up burgers for 65 years, this guy, Bryan Hayes, serving up hot takes since 1983. Thanks, Bryan. You're the best.
Hot Takes is presented by Harvey's. Customize your burger and get it delivered from our app to your door. Harvey's, it's a beautiful thing.